You know, throughout my life, I've played many games. And by many, I really mean it. I've played tons of them. However, there's only one franchise that I can say that I like every single game that has been released to the market. And that franchise is Pikmin. You've probably heard of it because Shigeru Miyamoto loves it to death. And if he can talk about it in any Nintendo Direct, he will. But why does Miyamoto like Pikmin? Why do I like Pikmin? Let's talk about Pikmin's humble beginning. On a period of time where we didn't have to wait 10 years to get a new mainline game, because there wasn't anything before. Let's talk about Pikmin 1, and just why I love it so much. Pikmin 1 doesn't really present a groundbreaking story, not at all, but I love its protagonist. Him just being some normal dude is a great breath of fresh air. Captain Olimar, returning home with his spaceship, crashes into an unknown planet after a meteor impacts on his ship. Because of it, the ship breaks in many pieces and he has to collect all the necessary pieces in order to leave the planet before his life support system fails. You have to collect 30 ship parts in 30 days. After he crashes, he finds a weird object, which he calls Onion. Said onion releases seed that grows, which is an actual living being, which Olimar calls Pikmin as a reference to his favorite carrot branding, the Pikmin carrots. These little mysterious creatures will help Olimar survive, as he cultivates as many Pikmin as possible for this objective. And as for the main story, that's pretty much it. Outside of the setting, there isn't much there. However, as we continue the game, we'll be able to read Olimar's thoughts about the world, about him, about the situation he's in, about his family. In reality, if we wish to look further, other than what is presented, we really need to focus on Olimar's thoughts. There are many variations of the logs that we can see at the end of the day, that can be about how much he misses his family, which discoveries he has made, many things really. If we collect many ship parts, comparing them to our current day count, we'll be able to see a more hopeful Olimar. If we're struggling, however, and we don't have that many collected, we'll be able to see Olimar slowly falling into despair and even craziness. Story-wise, Olimar is the best part about Pikmin. We can see so many insights about him as a character, about how he interacts in the world about him, and despite the danger of his situation, his passion for biology shows as he can't help but analyze the enemies around him, the Pikmin, and every little thing. It's impossible, literally, to see every single Olimar log in a single playthrough, since he has so many things to say. As I said before, Olimar has to recover 30 ship parts in 30 days. On the first day of the tutorial, he will have unlimited time to get the first ship part, though the day will end automatically after getting it. Day 2 onwards though, you'll have relative freedom to do whatever you want as you keep going with your journey. You have to raise your Pikmin numbers in order to face the dangers of the planet. Speaking of Pikmin, you have 3 Pikmin types to control. Red Pikmin are the first ones you'll find. They're stronger than the others and also immune to fire, which, despite being really common, is pretty dangerous. Yellow Pikmin are able to be thrown higher than others, which is pretty useful for stuff that is out of reach. They're also able to use bomb rocks, which can be used to fight enemies and demolish walls. Just be really careful to not let them blow up your squad. Blue Pikmin will be the third type you find. They're the only ones that can go into the water, so they can travel a lot more in all areas. They can also help the other Pikmin types if they're drowning. The progression is simple, but effective. As you collect ship parts, you'll be able to access new areas, which makes sense, because your ship is more repaired over time. Time is a really big factor. Not only does it count the amount of time you have before Olimar's death, but the game will get more difficult over time. The enemy variety will get higher and higher as time passes on, which I think is really cool. After all, despite the areas unlocked in a certain order, you can always finish whatever area you want first, so the game will always adjust to your own experience. And speaking of difficulty, while not extremely hard, Pikmin 1 can present a challenge due to its bulky enemies and kinda difficult to handle boss battles if you don't know what you're doing. That is, most of the time. My only complaint at these personal versions of the game is that despite there being 5 areas, the first one is just a tutorial that you'll return to if your Pikmin numbers are way too low, and the last one is just a glorified boss fight. But oh well, they're still good on their own merit. Controlling two Pikmin isn't hard at all, though it could take you some time to get used to. Getting used to it though is really satisfying, both doing it and watching someone master it, which is why Pikmin 1 speedrunnings are one of my favorites, if I'm honest with you. I genuinely believe that the music is one of Pikmin 1's best assets. It's what you've been hearing in the video, and it sets the atmosphere of the game really well. While there aren't many pieces of music in the game, I would say the overall OST is pretty good. Tune Up Day jingle and the result screens are used in every single Pikmin game without exception, and also every single area in this game has really iconic music among Pikmin fans. However, not only is the soundtrack good, but it's also dynamic. Whenever you approach an enemy, a variant of the music will play, and once you're safe again, the normal version will continue, not interrupting each other at all. There's another two versions of each track, when nighttime is approaching and when you're fighting someone at this time. It really keeps things fresh and far more engaging, something that it's even more improved upon its sequel, though we're not talking about it today. Honestly, I can't really think of many examples of dynamic music in games. In fact, nowadays, I can only think of a few examples, so I always appreciate just how far ahead they were thinking about making their soundtrack. And you've probably noticed just how atmospheric it is, almost ethereal. It really helps, not just with the atmosphere, but also the feeling of wonder, mystery and danger that you'll find wherever you go. It's a magical feeling that I just can't help but love dearly. Talking about Pikmin and replay value is strange, to say the least. When I think of replay value, I think of games that will allow me to have different teams in each playthrough, like Pokemon or Fire Emblem, maybe in a game with different routes or a new game plus that expands the content like Shin Megami Tensei. However, Pikmin is another exception. Between playthrough, nothing changes. The enemy layouts, the area in which you unlock the each area, nothing. But oddly enough, it's precisely thanks to that it's really replayable. The day system in Pikmin makes up for a really fun way to challenge yourself to improve on your own record. In fact, whenever you finish a playthrough, you'll be able to see your ship part to day ratio, so the game is practically encouraging you. And that's a big part of the fun of Pikmin. Playing it once is already fun, but playing it over and over, improving what you can do, is really satisfying. It's really unique, really. I don't really know many games that can do the same thing. But let me think. Oh yeah, every single Pikmin game! What I'm getting at here is that Pikmin's foundation as a game is extremely solid. And while you might not be hooked at first, the more you play, the more you'll love it. Overall, I think that Pikmin is a must-play, simply because of how different it is to most games. I know of people that feel tons of anxiety due to the always looming time limit, but just like I've told them, I assure you that you'll be fine. Out of all of the versions of the game, if you're interested in playing, I recommend the Switch version. And not because I think that you should pay more for it necessarily, but because it has the best gameplay alongside some improvements that were in the sequel. In comparison, the GameCube version feels a bit slower and more sloppy, while the Wii version is plagued with glitches. I hope I made you at least curious about the game. Nothing would make me happier than knowing I've convinced someone to playing it. Well, I'm done here. I'm getting out of it. Bye bye!